NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play. What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bringing your latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. So much to go over in this episode today. I mean, so much. I'm not really sure exactly where to begin. I'm super excited because for the first time ever in the history of NetsBoy, the Nets actually did something that NetsBoy wanted them to do. I mean, it's incredible. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the Nets actually got Isaiah Whitehead. I am in almost disbelief that it actually happened for multiple reasons. Mostly because nothing I ever expect them to do, they actually do. They usually do the opposite. So I couldn't believe that. I expected them to get Whitehead. I wanted them to get Whitehead, and they got Whitehead. And we'll go over that and what I think that's going to mean for the Nets moving forward with Whitehead and what he can bring to the team. We'll discuss the Nets trading Thaddeus Young for the 20th overall pick, and we'll discuss Caris LerVert, the guy who they got with the 20th overall pick. I think I'm saying his name right. We'll talk about that, what those guys bring to the table, and what it means maybe moving forward since Thaddeus Young got traded. And I was going to go over some free agency stuff, but I thought about it and said, you know what? The Nets did a bit with the draft, and I want to go over that. Why don't I just push that to the back burner and go over that next week, since free agency doesn't even start till July 1st anyway, so why not just wait a week until that? And so my next episode will be about the free agents I think the Nets should go after. But this episode tonight is about the NBA draft and the excitement that it brought for me as not just a Nets fan, but a basketball fan. So, the day started off with the Nets trading Thaddeus Young for the 20th overall pick. Here's the thing. I'm torn on this for multiple reasons. First and foremost, who they got. Caris LerVert, I think, it could be a really good to great player. Here's the situation. When the Nets made the trade for the 20th overall pick, first and foremost, it raised some confusion in my eyes because Sean Marks said he wasn't going to trade into the first round unless there was a guy that he really, really wanted that he felt he had to trade into the first round for. So why did they trade to get the 20th pick to get Caris LerVert when he was projected to go anywhere from the late first round to, well, really he was projected to go middle second round because he's a guy who was coming off 3 foot surgeries. So I just, right off the bat, I was a little confused by the move. First and foremost, LeVert, he is a great player. I remember hearing about him and seeing him play a couple games when he was at Michigan. Very gifted player, really skilled, very long, athletic, and has the potential to be anywhere from an okay role player to an all-star, in my opinion. He's very long. He can shoot. He can finish at the basket. He can rebound. He's a bit of a jack of all trades. Doesn't do anything particularly great, but does everything pretty good. And he's versatile. He's 6'7". He can play anywhere from the point guard position to the small forward position, which is always nice to have. He's more of a 2 guard in my opinion, but they call him a combo guard. So LeVert himself, to me, is a great player, and they said that he had lottery talent, but because of his injuries, he had to have 3 foot surgeries, like Lopez had 2, I think. Teams were afraid of him. They said, I don't know about this guy. He's maybe a little injury prone. But when it comes to the talent, everyone agreed that this guy had lottery talent, top 15 type player talent. So I'm not upset about the Nets getting LeVert at all. I think it's great. It's kind of like, when the Nets got Rondae Hollis-Jefferson last year, when I was disappointed about the Nets trading Pat Connaughton for and Plumlee, which I didn't care about Plumlee, but they traded Connaughton and Plumlee for Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. I was upset about that because I wanted the Nets to have Connaughton last year. Kind of the same situation I'm in right now with this move. Thaddeus Young, to me, was a great player for the Nets. He played really well with Brook Lopez. And because they don't have their draft pick next year, the Celtics can switch with the Nets. Trading Young, to me, was a bold move. I like Thaddeus Young a lot, and I understand the move. But at the same time, like I said, I'm confused. Why trade into the late first round to get a player who's projected to go in the second round? You know what I mean? Like, all the mock drafts had LeVert going nowhere near the first round. Like, they had him going early second round at the earliest because of the injuries. He barely played his senior year because he had foot surgeries, reoccurring foot issues, like Brook Lopez used to have, which also was the reason why the Nets liked the idea of drafting him, because the doctor that performed his surgeries is the same doctor that performed Lopez's. So they're thinking, obviously, he'll be fine, or so on and so forth. And also, they actually were able to get hold of LeVert's medical records easier because the same doctor treated Brook Lopez. So it was kind of easy for the Nets to do their due diligence. So I trust that LeVert is a good player and that the Nets did the due diligence and they got a good player who they believe his injuries are behind him and he can really contribute. But if he's projected to be a second-round draft pick, why are you trading up for him? And why are you trading one of your two best players to get that pick when now you're just going to be a worse team and you don't have your draft pick next season? So I'm a little confused by it. Perhaps, look, I'm not trying to look too much into it because maybe Sean Marks has some other tricks up his sleeve. But when Sean Marks says, and he said this, we're not going to trade up into the first round unless it's a guy we really want to get. And obviously, they really wanted LeVert. I thought it was going to be Isaiah Whitehead, believe it or not, because the Nets, everything I read said the Nets really wanted Whitehead. The mock drafts had him anywhere from the late first round to middle second round. And, pick 20th is like the beginning of the late first round. So I almost thought for sure, like, the Nets are trading to get Whitehead at that pick to assure they get Whitehead. But then I was watching the draft and I was eager, and all of a sudden they said, Caris LerVert. And I'm like, who the hell is that? I mean, he wasn't even somebody I think the Nets were even looking at. I know that he didn't try out for the Nets because he couldn't, because he was still recovering from the surgeries. So I was really baffled by this. But, like I said, when I had a chance to look at the highlights and review his history, he's a very, very good jack-of-all-trades player, and I think he can really help the Nets, and he's a good young piece that they could build around in the future. And look, I'm not at all going to say that he's going to be like this guy, but I remember when Kawhi Leonard got drafted, they said a similar thing, that he was a bit of a jack-of-all-trades type of player, that he could do a little bit of everything. He can rebound, he can defend, he can shoot, he can score, but he wasn't great at one particular thing. And now look at where Kawhi Leonard is. All right, he's an MVP candidate, an all-star, one of the best players, arguably the best player on the San Antonio Spurs. I'm not saying LeVert is going to be that good, but I'm saying it makes you feel a little optimistic because they said similar things about Kawhi Leonard that they're saying about LeVert. But like I said, I'm just confused. I don't know exactly why they had to trade Young to get this high up unless they really thought someone else could get LeVert. I mean, they obviously wanted to get LeVert and Whitehead, so they would have had to trade twice, and maybe they couldn't work out a deal to get into the early second round other than what they did to get Whitehead. I don't know. I really don't know. But, it's a little upsetting for me because it kind of makes me wonder what's going to happen, because originally Sean Marks said he wasn't planning on trading Lopez or Young, at least not right off the bat, because he thought they're great players. At least Brook Lopez, they said he was going to be a foundational piece, but they liked Young too. So now, after he's saying he liked these guys, he wasn't planning on trading them, and then he trades them for a guy who I felt they could have gotten in the second round. Makes my red flags go off a little bit. It makes me think that maybe Brook Lopez's days might be numbered in Brooklyn, which would make me very upset because he is, well, now he's my second favorite Net, but he is one of my favorite Nets, and I think that the Nets should at least hold on to him at least through this season until they can get a draft pick back. Unless they can get a draft pick or something significantly for him. But So I'm wondering now if they trade Young, is Lopez's days numbered? Who knows? So I don't know. Perhaps Sean Marks just believes that they could land a power forward like a Ryan Anderson to replace Thaddeus Young, since Ryan Anderson is friends with Brook Lopez. I'll discuss that more in the free agency episode next week. But, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. He might have something up his sleeve. But so my initial take is confusion on that move, but I'm content with it. I really like Thaddeus Young, but at the same time, I think LeVert could be a very good to great player. And if you're going to trade somebody that you want to get a value for, maybe that's the move. Who knows? But then as the draft went on, I started getting really pessimistic. I said, the Nets ain't getting Whitehead. It's all over. Baba this, Baba that. And then Whitehead got drafted by the Jazz, and I said, oh, that's fantastic. Good for him. He's going to Utah. And then my phone started blowing up, and people were saying, hey, NetsBoy. Well, I'm not sure if they were calling me NetsBoy. But anyway, hey, congratulations. The Nets got Whitehead. And I said, what the hell are you saying? I'm watching the draft live. The Jazz got him. Apparently on Twitter, it was already released and reported that the Nets had traded for Isaiah Whitehead. But it wasn't announced yet until way later on in the draft towards the end of the night. So I went on the computer, I checked the Twitter accounts, and sure enough, Isaiah Whitehead was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. And I am ecstatic, and I'm so excited that the Nets got him. I mean, Isaiah Whitehead, if you saw my last episode, you saw the highlight reel, this is a really good player. I think he's got, similar to LeVert, I think he's got anywhere from an okay role player to all-star caliber player. True, I believe it. Both those guys, LeVert and Whitehead, to me can be as good as an all-star. I think Whitehead can be a point guard. I know they had him as a shooting guard in the listed there as a combo guard. I think he could be a true shooting guard. Who he reminds me of? Drew Holiday. I think I've said this in another NetsBoy episode. Drew Holiday, a bigger size guard, not super athletic, but a good finisher with very good range, who, when going to the draft, everyone said, he's a point guard, but could he? But he's more of a two guard. He's not explosive enough. But Drew Holiday, when healthy, is one of the better point guards in the league. He's at least a top 10 point guard when healthy. His last full healthy season, Drew Holiday put up 18 and 8. So, and that's the way I see Whitehead. He's that type of player. He's that not explosive athlete, but an overall all-around great player who can do a lot of things, and he could be a point guard, and I think the Nets will use him at the point guard. Because right now, the way I look at it, the Nets got their future backcourt in this draft. Isaiah Whitehead and Caris LeVert. I think those are the two guys that are going to be the backcourt. And then you slide Rondae Hollis-Jefferson at the small forward. You've got yourself a very big, athletic 1-2-3. So I'm very happy with that move. Like I said, I couldn't believe it actually happened. I think it's going to be huge. I think Whitehead has a great chance to make an impact immediately with the Nets. At the 42nd overall pick, you know what? I said he should have been a first rounder, in my opinion. I understand the red flags with him is his shooting percentage, his playmaking. Not his playmaking. He's a good playmaker, but his consistency, his shooting percentage, and occasionally the turnovers that he has and the mistakes that he made. But you know what? That comes with maturity and over time. He may not be that great right off the bat, but you know what? I think you give him a year or two, and give him a chance to figure it out. Because that's the way he was. Hey, let me put it this way. That's the way he was at Seton Hall. His freshman year, he had moments where he looked fantastic, and he had some injuries. But then he had moments that you said, yo, man, Isaiah, you're doing too much. Relax. But then the next season, his sophomore year, after playing his full season and seeing how the college game worked, he adapted and took his game to the next level. That's what I think is going to happen with him in the NBA. It might take longer because it's much harder to figure out the NBA and adapt. It might take a year or 2 years or maybe even 3, but I think he'll figure it out. And by I think his second or third year in the league, I think you're going to see Whitehead as a very good player on the Nets, and I'm so glad the Nets got him. And guess what? He's my new favorite Net. Sorry, Brooke. You can go from 1 down to 2. Isaiah Whitehead is number 1. My goal is before the next season is to buy a Isaiah Whitehead Brooklyn Nets jersey and Maybe, who knows? Maybe I'll rotate the Brook Lopez and Whitehead jerseys every other episode or something. I don't know. But I'm ecstatic about it. I think it's awesome. I think that the Nets have some good young players now. If you look at their lineup, they have one good young player now for every position except for really center, which they have Brook Lopez. Obviously you got Whitehead at point guard, you got LeVert at shooting guard, you got Hollis Jefferson at small forward, and then you got Chris McCullough, who the Nets really think will figure it out too, at the power forward spot. So you got 4 of your 5 players. You've got a nice little young core there. So maybe Lopez will be traded sooner rather than later. Like I said, I still don't want that because I still think Lopez is a great player. But if the Nets do decide to try to build a young core, maybe in the next year or so, maybe he goes. But I like the move. Like I said, I'm confused about why they had to trade Young to get that far up there. But good luck to Thaddeus Young with the Pacers, and we'll see. We'll see what happens moving forward. So there you have it. Excited NetsBoy. Excited about Isaiah Whithead. Excited about LeVert. Confused about it, but excited. And we'll see what the Nets do moving forward. So my next NetsBoy episode, like I said, will be about in a week or so, where I'm going to go over what I think the Nets should do via free agency. They have lots of money now, but that's another thing about the Thaddeus Young trade. They even have now over more than they had before. Now they have over $50 million in cap space, so they can go after a lot of players. Maybe, like I said, Sean Marks might have something up his sleeve. So let's keep your eyes open for the latest NetsBoy. I'm excited to see what happens with Whitehead and LeVert. Until then, this is NetsBoy being very excited and signing off.